We have the intro. We have an intro file now.
Yep, I got it.
You got that? Okay, cool.
Are we hot, or is that just my headphones? Are we coming in hot?
But
I can adjust my own headphones. I just want to make sure. What?
Coming in.
you sound good. I mean, the levels are good.
Levels are good. So let me just turn us down. Thank you.
Don't turn us down.
Turn
that shit up.
Well,
Turn us up. Turn us up.
technically speaking, it's safer if I turn us down.
Oh, okay. You're such a nerd.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
We're ready. Let's do this.
I'm Lawrence.
And I'm Erin, and this is
Beyond the Journal.
Wow, every time?
Every time.
Wow. Okay, so this is Beyond the Journal, and here we talk about New York City basketball, community, culture, love, life.
Everything from the government to the grocery store.
That's right, and there's only one place you can hear it.
Beyond the Journal.
Wow, really?
I like that one better.
Okay, can we just start the show, please? Let's do it.
You don't want the
Start the
intro
show.
to finish?
Start the show. No.
Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Journal. See, I took something off it. I'm Lawrence, your co-host, and this is the person right in front of me.
I am the person right in front of you.
You
Wow,
are.
that was super descriptive
There you
and
go.
really helpful.
Say hi, Erin.
Hi. Oh, wow.
Yes.
You did it?
It was right before you said it.
I was just about to say it. You
That's
cut
pretty good.
me off, man. Hey, what's up?
What's
Since you
up?
stole my thunder.
I'd like to give a huge shout out to the both of us for actually arriving on time. We set a time, we arrived on time, and New York
No.
City tried its. We did. 1:30 was the time to record.
Yeah.
So New York City tried its hardest, its darndest, to give us every piece of traffic it had, and we still made it on time. What is up with New York City
I
traffic?
just got an alert that they said New York City has surpassed LA as the worst traffic in the country right now.
Oh my God.
I'm telling you. So, and then I saw an article yesterday because I've been complaining about traffic for a couple of weeks now.
You
and
have been.
I'm like miserable about it. Okay. So, and I drive everywhere. So I'm super frustrated. And I read an article yesterday in Cranes that said like no one is taking public transportation.
Wow.
And so it's become gridlock and no one is carpooling either.
No.
So it's a problem. It's a problem.
It's a problem.
On many levels. I'm sure the emissions are like off the chart right now because it's crazy how many people are on the road driving.
Yeah.
But it's super frustrating to me.
Oh, yeah. It is very frustrating. And the other thing that adds to traffic, well, besides construction, right? Because there's always going to be
summer
construction in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I'm coming from Jersey. And so them turning 4 lanes into like 1 and 2 is a regular thing now. That's awesome to do during rush hour, mind you. Anyway, the one thing I always point out, especially on my IG, is that a lot of traffic patterns would be a lot better if there weren't stupid people. And when I describe stupid people, hold on, there's a difference between ignorant and stupid. Ignorant, you just don't know better. Stupid, you know better, but you won't do better. And you're inconsiderate of other people. That's really stupid to me. So thank you, stupid people, for making New York City traffic worse. What else is on the docket?
Wow. Could talk about coming in hot.
Coming in hot, stupid
Coming
people.
in
There we go.
hot, because it's hot outside today.
It is. But I'm not, I just said I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain.
I didn't. It's just a statement. I didn't complain.
Ooh, an observation, if you will.
I said it's hot because
Yes.
it legit is hot.
It is, actually.
But I didn't complain. So
No, I just said I wasn't going to complain. I'm not sure why you
good,
gave
but
us
I
that
was-
disclaimer.
But I was talking.
Oh.
so I don't know.
All right, well, let's move into some news. What?
Let's move into some news. Let's jump to my news and then to your news.
Because my news is
Yours
a bit.
news
I went
takes up
crazy.
half the note.
I went crazy. I was
Ha-
excited about this news. But
half the
anyway,
note.
what you got?
So, well, I don't know. Let's just start with NBA because it's here. So, I think it's really crazy how many injuries there are
Yeah.
of these huge star players. So, I just threw a list in here: Giannis,
Mhm.
Trae, CP, Kawhi, Kyrie,
That's a big one.
Harden,
Mhm.
AD, Jaylen Brown, Jamal Murray.
Well, I said that was a big one for Kyrie, but then I'm looking at the names again. These are all really big injuries.
It's a major star on almost every postseason team.
If I had my all injured list, if I had my all injured stars game, I would pick the squad. This is a tough squad.
Except they're all injured.
Except they couldn't play a lick.
They couldn't get much done, but they would be there, I guess. But I mean, this speaks again to. Man, I don't know. Load management and this whole pandemic season and then coming back into the regular season and all of these things. Like, when you're paying this much money, I don't get it. And Trae literally has been healthy and really great in the postseason. Yeah. He stepped backwards onto a ref's foot and then ended up bruising his bone.
So, and mind you, he's 22, right?
I know.
Which, first of all, I think is awesome. But to have a little guard that great, so young, makes me.
It annoys me so much. I want to hate him, but I can't hate him because he's so good. He's not like LaBall, like the Ball brothers. Mm-hmm. I said LaBall.
It's all right. I got what you were saying.
You felt me? Okay.
French.
But it wasn't. It's that family that they're easy to dislike. He's not. I mean, the hair is something I can pick on the hair, but but look at.
Did you really talk about Trae Young's hair?
Oh, please don't act like I'm the only one or the first person to bring up Trae Young's hair. Come on, everybody talks about Trae Young's hair.
I've never talked about the fact that it looks like he has plugs in his hair. I've never talked about that.
You haven't seen the memes of people like pasting like hair on like weird objects and stuff, calling it Trae Young's hair? Come on, man. I'm not the only one to talk about that. But anyway, he's hard to dislike because he is just so clutch. But, he has off nights too. He had an off night the other night, and that was crazy to see that Milwaukee was still, the game was so close with Trae not even.
Well, I mean, Milwaukee lost without Trae Young even in the game, right? So that sends a huge statement. But I wanted to say something about the injuries. I think the injuries were a collision of a couple of themes that we have spoken about on our show. One, we were talking about load management because of not only the wear and tear over the long period of time, but also the wear and tear that comes from playing at such a high level, right? So there was that theme we focused on our show, that the higher the level of play, the more likely people are to get injured because it's such intense basketball, playing at such a high speed with such high physicality. Something's bound to happen, God forbid, right? So you take that with the rush that was applied to the season because we had to salvage a season no matter what condition the players were coming in, right? We needed to salvage the season so that we could make bank. So it was the collision course of high-level basketball with superstars included, as well as rent's due, bills got to be paid.
Yeah.
Right? Because business, I keep saying this, we're moving at the speed of the dollar. We're not moving at the speed of human life. So there was no true regard for sustaining or maintaining these players. It was much more about the league itself first, which it's business, not personal, right?
Yeah.
So I'm blaming the business of it.
That's like so depressing to me. So I don't know. That just your whole little breakdown just really kind of made me sad. So.
Really? I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. It's the world's fault. But no. You're saying we're moving at the pace of the dollar. Not the human being. And to me, that's just so backwards of how we should be moving. So it's difficult for me. But I understand money makes the world go round. But at the same time, our priorities are so backwards. And if we weren't so focused on money, how different things could be. But
yeah, I agree. And can we change that? Money doesn't make the world go round. Money makes the worlds we created go round. But money doesn't make the world itself go round. Right. And I think the sooner people actually start saying that, the more they'll say, wait a minute, then why am I doing all of this for the money? Right?
Right. But it's also, we're not really the ones who decided that money makes money doesn't make the world go round, but that money is the important
right. But I'm just saying it's an important distinction, right? Because I think people get lost in those cliches and they find them to be truth, and it's not truth. Money does not make the world go round, and I want people to understand that. Not because I'm coming at you, but because I think it's super important that we re-examine and reimagine so many things that we've held to as like tradition in our lives and in our societies, because the time is now for change, right? So let's take a look at money.
That is called awakening.
Oh.
And so that is one of those things.
Stay woke.
Actually, that's one of those things during my meditation today that came up. But it's really, It was such a beautiful thing. Oh my gosh, I loved it so much. It said, and I'm going to mess up the words, but it was an awakening is not about a destination. And she used the example of a caterpillar, and a caterpillar has to absolutely, completely forget who they are to transition to a butterfly.
That's the end
They
of the
actually
process.
have to
wow.
completely release everything to be able to transform. And that's part of the process of awakening, is when you have to kind of release everything you've ever known and kind of be open and accepting to so many other things that we weren't necessarily considering before in our lives.
I respect that a lot. That's a really good way to look at it, actually, is that you're not fully done until you've shed your old self. Right?
But you're not fully done until you've shed your old self. But the thing about awakening and the whole journey is that process never ends.
Yeah, I was just about to say,
it's a never-ending process until the day you die.
Because Alan Watts, I was just listening to Alan Watts, and he said something similar where it was like, people kill me when they ask, who am I? Or they say they're going to discover themselves. And he's like, but who's doing the discovering? You're yourself no matter where you go. You feel me? Right.
Yeah.
But that awakening, though, is a different part of yourself. And it's
exactly.
I like it. I like it.
And it never ends. And that's the whole thing. That's why I keep trying to promote like falling in love with the process and the journey. Interesting, because process is going to come up very soon.
Oh, yeah, it is.
So see how I did that?
I don't think you did it on purpose.
I can always take it to meditation and bring it on back. So, so we're gonna keep on moving, because we're gonna get to trust the process very soon. Which let's just make that the theme of the show: trust the process.
I mean,
because the process is the journey, and the journey is amazing, and you just have to trust in all of it and be open to receiving all of it. Okay, so the WNBA announced that 99% of the league is vaccinated, and since the start of the season, there has been no new COVID cases reported.
Interesting.
Very interesting, especially since there was a lot of kind of backlash at the beginning of all of that, but now it kind of died down. Whatever. Moving on to Becky Hammon. This was interesting to me.
First of all, this is my girl from way back. I've liked Becky Hammon for a very long time.
I like her a lot.
Yeah.
Pop likes her. I mean, Pop has stamped her. So, like, she's...
You're gonna let people know who Pop is? You gonna let them know?
If you're listening to this show and you don't know who Pop is, I highly suggest I'm going to pull a trick out from my dad's old ways. You need to go look that up.
That you did all that for that? Mm-hmm. That was crazy. First of all, I just wanted to say his full name because it's Greg Popovich.
Yeah. Oh.
No, but his name's like gangster. It's 3 G's,
Popovich.
2 P's.
Oh.
You know what I mean? What?
Yeah.
3 G's, 2 P's, and a Popovich. Popovich. Sorry, I got really into that. I apologize.
It's fine. We
Popovich.
can do whatever we want here, man. This is a free.
I don't know.
I
want to get. I don't know. I don't like where this is going. Let's get back to the
I don't know how
script.
safe it is, though. Anyway, so she failed Portland's background check.
Yeah, so I found that
led
interesting.
To the hiring of Billups. So I don't understand. Okay, so here, listen, I know I can talk about like conspiracy theories with you because I know you can go there with me, but like it just seems a little interesting to me that the first female who's like, and maybe not the very first female ever interviewed, but like the first female who really truly I feel like could step into that position doesn't pass a background check.
Of course. I mean, there's a few things, right?
So tell me.
Number one, when I did some research on this, they said Chauncey Billups, this was basically Chauncey Billups' job to lose in the first place, right? He was like a shoo-in. They had already picked him, but they were probably doing interviews just,
because you have to.
Right.
Because you have to say so.
So when it came but welcome to business, right? So
no, it happens all the time in corporate. Yeah, I get it.
So when it came to Becky Hammon, she was like highly qualified for the job, but she's also been turned down for other leadership jobs, which adds into her resume because in certain places, getting turned down adds to your resume. It gets added to your resume. And then in addition, the Spurs said, the Spurs didn't send her off well. They didn't give her a lot of kudos, as it were. And I think I want to be quick to say, like, what the hell? Because if she got the tap from Greg Pop, right? Popovich, actually gave her the tap and was like, you finish this game. You can handle this when I'm out. I think you and I would definitely trust Greg Pop, right? So there must have been other people there in addition to Greg's opinion that she might have rubbed the wrong way, or they're just not ready to put their name on the line for her. Either way, we don't like it because we want to see change. I think it is, right? And we also want to see a woman in that position, and we love Becky Hammon.
Yeah, and I do love her. And here's the thing. Yeah, no, you know what? I'm just gonna bite my tongue here. I'm gonna keep it quiet. It's probably a little
What's
too
today's
much.
date?
It's a little too much.
She's
So,
biting her tongue. What is today's date?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
it's June 30th.
I don't even know if we should move on.
2021.
This is crazy.
No, we should move on. I think we're gonna move on because I'm gonna go into a place that, let's move on to Mia Hamm. This is cool. I
Okay.
really like this.
Yep.
Her rookie card sold for $34,440, the most ever for a female athlete sports card.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I thought that was crazy, actually. I couldn't believe it when I first read it. And then I was like, this is a pretty good direction to go in.
It's super cool.
And
And
it's-
Mia Hamm is awesome. I mean, come on. She's amazing.
And
So, yeah, that was super exciting. I just want to throw that in there as a fun fact.
and it's keeping the card game alive.
Yeah,
Which is a really cool way to honor athletes and to get kids and people involved with memorabilia is playing cards. I remember them when I was younger.
Yeah, my brother had a ton. I mean, books and books and tons.
Where
he
are they?
collected. I don't know.
Tell them to donate them to me.
I think no. I don't think he had anything major, like anything worth anything. But believe it or not, there is still a very hardcore group of card collectors
Oh, I
who
know.
make a lot of money.
Oh, I know.
So just FYI, if you're out there, start buying those cards.
No,
because-
just tell your brother to give them to me.
Yeah, no.
All right.
Anyway, I just want to, it's not in the notes, so I'm just going to throw something out there because I was really sad because I'm a huge Serena Williams fan, love her, and she got hurt
Oh, no.
and had to withdraw from Wimbledon. She fell, and they were saying possibly it was wet or possibly slippery, but she ended up getting hurt and she had to leave the court. Like she was crying and like she was visibly very upset and had to withdraw. And I'm super bummed because she's just been working so hard.
Yeah.
And it sucks to see this. And anyway, so just
That's sad.
yeah, so just sending lots of good, healthy, positive vibes to Serena because she's awesome. and
Yeah, I wish her
amazing
a
and-
healthy recovery.
Yeah, so sorry. Just wanted to throw that in there because I saw that.
Yeah, that's
and-
sad. And I like her a lot. She's like
awesome.
one of my sheroes.
Oh, really? You have Shiros?
Don't you?
Well, of course.
Doesn't
But-
sound like it. All right. So
I'm just shocked hearing that from you.
I
So.
feel so many ways about you being shocked about that. I honor women. Thank you.
Oh, do you?
I
I feel very honored in your presence always.
don't know where this is going ever.
Go.
All right.
go, go.
So we were, well, I don't know if you were. I was really excited to see the USA Olympic team roster was announced for men's basketball, led by KD, which was the most questionable move I've seen in a long time. You don't have time to play in a full season, but you've got time to play in the summertime. That doesn't bother anybody but me. All right, whatever. So KD, Bam Adebayo, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, one of my new favorite players, Jeremy Grant, Harvey Grant's son, Horace Grant's nephew, Draymond Green, Drew Holiday, Zach LaVine, Dame Dollar, Damian Lillard, Kevin Love, Chris Middleton, and Jason Tatum. I like it.
Okay, Middleton. Talk about Middleton right now. He is key. He is the key to the Bucks. No joke.
Yeah.
That team is riding
Yeah.
on that dude. And
Big
he's
time.
he's it. And I have to give a shout out to KD because I went to the New York Liberty game and KD was there sitting courtside. And that's awesome for him
Yeah.
to show up and show out for the women and show support. And Sierra showed up too with her husband Russell, who plays for Seattle, and the running back for Seattle too. I can't remember his name right now. What's his name? Metcalf.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they showed up to show support too. So that was super cool. So shout out to KD for that. And then he went to like the Yankees game too. I think he was
That's
like
pretty cool.
behind the plate at the Yankees game. So he's showing New York love right now. So that's cool. But yeah, like, and you know, do I have to repeat 9 games? 9 games that Harden, Kyrie, and KD played.
Yeah,
together.
so the fact that he's got time for that. But I looked at the roster and I said Kevin Love's on there, Draymond Green, and Kevin Durant. And Damian Lillard, who these are like serious veterans in the game right now. And you keep a guy like Damian Lillard because he's going to play. But Draymond, Kevin Love, and Kevin Durant might just be there for leadership mainly, in a couple minutes here and there. But just to keep things glued together, I suppose, right?
The glue.
Yeah, the glue. So I thought it was interesting that this roster was posted. I like it. I'm looking forward to it. And, of course, 3 Gs, 2 Ps. Popovich is actually going to be coaching this team, leading the coaching staff, which is awesome. Now, the interesting thing that I went crazy while I was doing my own research is that Jerry Colangelo is the general manager. Now, when I saw that, I was like, so I started digging, and Colangelo was brought into the beloved city, your beloved city of Philly, right? The 76ers, to be the chairman of basketball operations. And that was about 2015 in the middle of the season after they had started off like 1 for 21. There's a reason I'm saying all of this, right? So soon after that, the general manager at the time, Steve Hinkle, was let go. Now, this is the guy who was famous for tanking the Sixers for several seasons in a row based on analytics. Steve Hinkle had this idea that he learned from a guy named Morey about studying basketball analytics. And basketball analytics changed from focusing on what players do per game to what players do per minute, and what teams do per possession to what each player does per possession, which is now, we see that all the time, right? That's everywhere. We see, player efficiency, right? Their rating. And that's one of the most important stats that we see. So guys like Hinkle and Daryl Morey, who was with the Rockets, actually like pioneered this in NBA. Well, they didn't pioneer it, but they were some of the first couple of guys, and they made it famous. Now, the Daryl Morey is the guy who came to the Rockets and changed their style of play from 2007 to 2020. Now, he's the guy who's responsible for making sure their entire win percentage was only second to the Spurs throughout that entire time period from 2007 to 2020. They won the most games in the NBA, second to the Spurs, right? And his philosophy, let me see if I can find his philosophy. Here's where it gets really important and interesting. His philosophy was heavily reliant on analytics, and he favored the three-point field goal and layups over mid-range jump shots. Now, as a basketball purist, I love the mid-range jump shot.
You know how I feel.
Right. So now this guy comes in the league, and with his basketball analytics, and mind you, these guys are not coaches per se. These are like statisticians, people who've gone to Harvard and Stanford just to study the numbers, right? So now Hinkle learns under this guy and then comes to the 76ers in 2013. Now, in the locker room, this whole idea, trust the process, develops. Trust the process, because they're tanking. They're losing mad games and then season after season. And he's accused of intentionally tanking just so that they can
draft picks,
right? And who do they draft? In 2014, I think it was, Joel Embiid. But Joel Embiid gets there, and the city's like, yes, this is going to change everything, but he doesn't play until 2016.
He's hurt.
Right? So now in the 2015 season, he's not playing. They're still losing. They bring in this guy, Jerry Colangelo, and then Hinkle is removed, even though this was all based on analytics, and he did get the draft picks, and the team was starting to shape up, but people didn't want to see them lose to get there. Jerry Colangelo comes in there, cleans house, and then appoints his son to a position of general manager, which he typically does wherever he goes because his son will be working with the USA team. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on in here, and the biggest deal is that so many people's lives were affected and changed. You talk about free agency. You're talking about who looks valuable on the court based on the statistics now, who gets playing time, who gets traded, right? Who gets drafted, who has a job, who does not. And it's all based on these guys who have never played this, who might have never played the sport professionally or collegiately. All they did was study the numbers. And this is where business meets basketball through guys like this. And I found it interesting because I was like, damn, the purity of the game cannot be kept. It can't be kept. It will always be under the threat of the money in the game. And this will trickle down because now how many kids do we have pulling up for fast break threes?
Oh, yeah.
And how many kids are not shooting mid-range jump shots, right? And so many things that are happening in the game are a result of the APBR metrics, Association of Professional Basketball Research metrics. What a fancy name to just say we've been studying the stats closer. But anyway.
Well, here's a couple interesting things about that. One, everything's cyclical. So I wonder if, like, I'm just saying, in the future, I'm wondering if some stars come out and start bringing the mid-range jumper back to life. Because if you're not ready for it, you're not guarding it, everyone's like, no one's shooting those, who cares? We're just not even going to practice that or pay any attention to it. Then for me, those are the things and the moments I want to capitalize on, right? So I feel like everything's cyclical, and that may go away now, but we may see a resurgence of it because we always do. Everything comes back around, right? But the interesting thing about this to me is, business. The NBA is a business. And yes, these guys are athletes, and yes, they train hard and they show up and they play these games. But at the end of the day, it's really about making money, and it's really about stats. It really and strategy. It really isn't about the players on the floor, and it really isn't about the love of the game. It's about the love of the bank account and the money that's piling up, or the debt that you need to pay off, or whatever that's happening with the team, right? So this, to me, is super interesting and makes me really pause and be very concerned as a college fan, how that's going to change the game now starting July 1st, that they are able to really capitalize on their name and likeness, which I'm for, because I believe in that for them. But this is going to change the face, the look, the feel of college sports. And that has always been why I loved college sports, because don't get it twisted, it's still a business. But the way they hit it and the way they manipulated it, you felt much more passion for the game and for the players than you do at a professional level. But now it's becoming professional. So I'm wondering how seeing all this is now going to become much more relevant on the more pure side. And I say that quotations, pure side of sports. So it is really, really interesting, but it's just such a great reminder. And all of the details that you found are all very fascinating and interesting, but it's just overall just such a good reminder that it's really about money at the end of the day.
Exactly why I found all of this interesting, right? Because a guy like Jerry Colangelo, if you look up Jerry Colangelo, his accolades are ridiculous basketball-wise. But if you track some of these accolades and the histories back, you're like, wait, these were business moves though. These weren't like pure basketball moves. So it's frustrating for me because, and this is going to transition into what we're talking about later. What this also does is it changes the landscape. Changes the landscape of basketball, not only for the players and the coaches, but for the fans. Because the fans don't have that many more options, right? Unless they create their own, which I'm all for, right? But anyway, the fans don't have that many more options. They are stuck with what they're stuck with because they're just fans, right? So now, as fans, they typically emulate the game. And so what this is all going to do is sort of
it changes the game.
Change the game and also limit the amount of people or the type of people who are involved in the game, right? And so now you've got these, as it trickles on down, you've got these kids on the outside looking in because they weren't trained as specialists to be on a career path to the NBA or to college basketball early enough in their lives, and now it's hard for them to even get in. Can you imagine showing up to an AAU tournament trying to play and it's your first game at 13? What? What have you been doing with your life, kid?
It's crazy.
You see what I'm saying? So now...
But I hate that. But okay.
And so now, when you think about that, you think about the specialists. so many things are tethered to the money that specialists are developing. We said this like a year ago, 2 years ago. We talked about specialists. We talked about LeVar Ball and his sons and creating specialists. We talked about the kid that is not in school and is being home trained from kindergarten to like 5th grade so they can practice basketball like 5-6 hours a day. So now you have all these kids being specialists in different sports, different activities, architecture, language,
Music,
whatever they're doing. And then you've got these other kids whose parents either can't afford it or are unaware of it or don't have access to it, and they're on the outside looking in. And now when you take that same group of kids and you whittle them down to the kids who have less options in life or the kids who are less fortunate in life, they don't even have outlets like athletics. What do they have outlets as? And then you take these same kids who don't have the options and the outlets, and you tell them either your parent's going to lose a job for a pandemic, or you're going to be trapped in the house a lot because of the pandemic, or life has just changed and you're locked out of society after the pandemic. What are you going to do? Right? So now you have a raise in violence. You have a raise in ignorance. You have an increase in children not having guidance, because that's what a lot of these programs do too. They offer kids guidance as well. But we are starting to close doors and focus in on career paths. And that's becoming more dangerous for society.
It is, however.
Yes.
There are other factors to consider. When you become a specialist at such a young age and you're training and you are working around the clock, how many of you are stopping to think about injuries and recovery and all of these things? So look at the names that we just named, some of the biggest in the NBA that have been injured during this postseason. Okay, they already got their contracts. They already have their millions, right? So that's fine for them.
Yep. But
I mean, they don't want to be injured.
No.
Of course not, because that's a threat to everything, they're working towards and for and have earned.
But at least they have the cushion.
But they already have it, right? They're in the league, so whatever. And even if they do get hurt and it's career ending, they still have other opportunities, right?
Yep.
So that's not the same for a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old.
Or an 18-year-old.
Okay? So yes, I mean, you'll hear some of the coaches, top D1 coaches will tell you. I mean, I remember listening to Bill Self talk, and he said one parent asked him, what's one of the biggest pieces of advice if I want my kid to play basketball? And he said, don't just play basketball.
I love it.
He said, please do. He goes, first of all, I'm going to be real with you. The odds of your kid playing D1 ball or professional ball is like slim to none. So like, just check that at the door. First of all, he goes, and I'm not like, I'm just being real.
Yeah.
First of all. Second of all, he said, if you want your kid to be good at basketball, have him do other things. Soccer, yoga, dancing, anything, like any boxing. He was like, work on your footwork, work on your speed, work on your mental game, play an instrument, do other things than just basketball. Because yes, that's all important, but there are other factors of being an athlete. And I talk about the mental part all the time, but it's incredibly important. And so when you're a specialist, be careful, because when you put all your eggs in one basket, what they say.
That basket can tip over.
Right. And what happens to your eggs?
They crack.
Maybe. Or maybe not.
Maybe if it's
or
hot. Or
they roll away.
If it's hot enough outside, they scramble.
There you go. So many possibilities of bad things.
Where are we going right now? All right.
I have no idea, but it's fun.
No, but you make a seriously great point, though. It is scary to watch.
Say that again.
You make a seriously great point.
Thank you so much.
Because it is scary to watch adult culture trickle down into places where the children don't have what it takes to survive those same adult cultures and decisions and parameters and conditions, I guess. So speaking of the kids, I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
I want to say something about the stats really quick, because you didn't mention Moneyball.
I meant to. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, if you don't know the story of the Oakland A's, it's actually a really great movie.
Yeah, it was good.
It's fun to watch. But I will say on the other side, and I understand stats is very business and strategic, and it's really not about the sport necessarily per se. It's very like mathematical. There's something very fascinating about that, though, about how you can truly break down a sport into like mathematical equations and statistics and find the holes and find where you need to improve and then truly apply that. That's like genius level stuff. And it's interesting. It's very, very interesting, but it does when you start playing with those types of things, then that's where what you were saying kind of comes into play, where you start to question the love of the sport, the passion of the sport, the business side of the sport, the money, and how it actually truly changes the game when you start seeing the mid-range jumper disappear.
Yep.
Like, which I love. I just love that.
Well, I think
it's probably because it's the only thing I can do, but I still love that
it's
shot.
not mid-range, it's short range, but whatever.
Okay,
Who's,
well, that's true.
Who's counting the feet from the basket?
That's true. I'm gonna own that. That's fine.
All right. It's fine. I shoot threes and half-court shots and short range and mid. Like, I do it all.
And for about 2 minutes until you can't breathe because you're dying.
Minor details.
Whatever.
But yeah, so I think what's important is the same thing I always say. We need a balance, right? So we need not only that statistician in the room, but we need the basketball purist in the room as well, right? If we're talking evolution, if we're talking about making things right, we need that balance. Let's talk about what's going on in our streets. First of all, you want to give some shout outs?
Yeah, definitely. I think,
You think? Or you do? No, I'm serious. Like, do you really want to give the shout outs, or do you want to jump right into the... I'm being serious.
No,
I know you think I'm being
not.
facetious.
You are being facetious. So I do want, I think, I was going to say, not that I think I want to give shout outs. I was going to say a different sentence, but I was interrupted before I could get it out of my mouth. So what I was saying, no, you're the one who interrupted me.
I'm rare. Got it.
Totally. So I think that it's only right to do that because it is summer, and summer in New York City means basketball. If you have been in this city at all, it's a huge, huge deal for all 5 boroughs. For kids starting out little bitty ballers all the way up through, I mean, we have NBA stars coming through these parks.
That's right.
Right. So
That's right.
The famous Wrecker, we have Dykeman, and, all the New York versus New York, which is like the hottest kids in high school.
West Fourth.
And
Yep.
West Fourth. So we have all of these great tournaments, great places to play and witness some of the best that New York City has to offer. It's different this year. Very, very, very different. So we missed last summer.
Yeah, we did.
Which was really unfortunate that everything was shut down in New York City. So a lot of the kids who really rely on the community programming and basketball and the local parks did not have any structure, anywhere to go. But before we get into that, I just want to shout out BG and LES Express.
LES.
We love that tournament. The Cruz Brothers all the way out. Orchard Beach, which is the Venice Beach of New York City, they like to say, at Hoops in the Suns. Want to show them love. Hoops by the River, which has been, I think this is year 13. I think.
Wow. Shout out to Will.
Yeah. So
Hoops by the River.
I think that's what he said. I think it's like 12, 13, somewhere around there. So that's a huge, huge deal for the community.
That's an important.
Yeah, very important tournament, and a lot of love for that. And then last but not least, I mean, I'm sure I'm forgetting, like there's Gersh and Watson and Lincoln. I mean,
shout out to West Fourth
there's
again.
So many programs. Brooklyn, USA. I mean, there's so many. I'm missing so many of them, so please don't feel.
Dudo Bias's tournaments.
Yeah,
right?
Rodney Park. Right, exactly. Got to show Roman lots of love. So I don't know. There's so many more. I'm missing you all, but we just want to send love to all of the New York City community because everyone knows now, especially, how important this game is to this city.
Right.
And we cannot forget our
second home.
Our second home, yes. Good. Thank you for jumping in there and saving me because I was lost for words. My love is so big. I just can't even define it for Ken Stevens and the entire team at Dykeman, like all of them.
Yeah, shout out to everybody, man.
It's been amazing.
We're gonna have a good Dykeman summer?
I think so. I hope so. I'm praying and hoping and wishing. So despite the current climate in the city.
Let's talk about the current climate.
Yeah, it's really overwhelming and sad and horrible. And the gun violence is it's bad all over America right now in metropolitan areas, especially.
Yep.
St. Louis, Chicago, Detroit, Philly, DC. I mean, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So unfortunately, it seems as if, and maybe you can speak to this more, but it seems as if in the neighborhoods in the 5 boroughs, kind of basketball was kind of off limits. There was kind of like an unspoken rule or code of conduct that, basketball players were the ones who were working hard to get out of the neighborhood, and
athletes in general.
Right. Athletes. Right. And so they were kind of off limits, and everybody kind of let that be. And unfortunately, within a week of each other, I believe we've had 2 incidents with basketball players being shot.
Yeah.
One during a game.
During a game, and he didn't even know he was shot yet.
No, during a game. He was getting ready to inbound the ball.
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, I also was sent video of a fight that broke out during that game, I think prior to the shooting, on the sidelines with some adults. And they were throwing fists, and then people were running, and it was like very chaotic. And I was watching it and going like, is this what we're doing at high school basketball games? So unfortunately, this summer is going to be very different. And as much as we're super excited for basketball and for everyone to come back outside, it's also a little alarming that it's so violent.
Well, it's alarming. First of all, I was looking at the CompuStats, and for those of you who don't know, that's a meeting. It's supposedly more than a meeting, but it's a meeting where the police chief and a bunch of the officials in the police force of New York City, as well as the mayor, get together and other officials, and they discuss the information or intelligence, and they decide how they're going to deploy resources and come up with effective tactics and, following up and all that stuff. So we're looking at the stats of it. And Erin and I have it right in front of us, excuse me. And it says shooting incidences are up 42% from last year, which, people were still home around this time last year, but 42% means that 718 incidences have happened and 826 people have been shot in New York City up to date. And that was before this week, right? Mm-hmm. So now I listen to Jordan Peterson a lot, and there was one of his class lectures. He spoke about the difference between people who feel safe in society and feel comfortable in society versus people who are uncomfortable and feel, not so secure. The people who feel secure are usually healthier, they worry less, and, stress is a killer. We've spoken about that on this show, so people are less stressed, and they need less outlets for the negative feelings they have. Whereas on the other side, people who are a little less fortunate tend to be a lot more stressed because they have to focus more of their energy onto holding on to their everyday existence, basically. And so anything threatening that everyday existence will probably see a visceral response because people who are less fortunate don't have as much to hold on to. And so they can't just afford to lose things or let things go. And this goes beyond physical possessions. This goes into like emotions and how people are made to feel in interactions with one another, right? And so you put all of these people in a city or in a metropolitan area after a quarantining where people have lost jobs, lives, and family members, right? And wages.
And money.
Right? So, and things have changed. And now this level of comfort has been lowered for so many people, right? So it's like one of my older friends, Brad Zervas, used to say, it's like a cinder box waiting to explode. And so I think the explosion is happening slowly all over the place, unfortunately. And it brings to the table a conversation about guns and the inner city. Mm-hmm. But the tough part about getting rid of guns in the inner city, one of the tough parts is you're not going to be able to get rid of them in rural areas. You're not going to be able to.
You're not getting rid of guns, period.
Well, they're big business. And in rural neighborhoods, the idea
I'm saying
is
even I'm sorry.
It's
Go
okay.
ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Even if what? You didn't finish that statement in the first place. Even if what?
No, I'm saying even if you banned or outlawed or made new gun laws, there's a whole market.
You know what's going to happen with the gun? If you ban guns, you know what's going to happen? The same thing that happened with alcohol.
I was just going to say.
Same thing. And it's probably going to be the same people. You know, because there are, and it was in the rural places that these people feel like if the government has guns, we need to have guns. And I need everybody to understand that line of thinking. That may not make sense to you right now, but way back in the days when the government and the free people were fighting for control over the country, there was always like a split, like an understanding, like, hey, whatever the government can do, we should be able to do just in case the government turns on us and does what Britain did and just tries to control us and use us for their own good as citizens, right? So we need to be able to defend ourselves. But here's the trick about that. You feel like you're going to defend yourself against the government because you have guns? They have chemical warfare. All right, they have access to nuclear bombs and things of that nature. You don't think they're going to take care of your guns before you even get to use them? You may clip one or two guys, but they're coming with an entire army. I'm not discouraging you from fighting back against the government ever, because power to the people, but let's be smart. Let's be smart.
Wow, okay.
Don't just load your guns, load your minds, please.
Yes,
Okay.
that's a fact. Yeah, I don't even know what
You like that?
to say about all that. Wow, that was a lot. No, and it's true. I just listen, talking about like the solution to gun violence is like we could have like 17 shows about that. So I'm not even trying to even introduce that right now because it's just not even something we even have the time to dive into deeply. I'm just sad. Like, for me, and I'm just like hippie and peace, love, and happiness, and to like spend time in those neighborhoods and go to these streetball tournaments and be there for the passion and the love. Like we were talking before, like, yeah, there's a business, but this is the more of the pure stuff, right? Like this is New York City basketball where people show up like Ken Stevens, who have been doing it for 31 years for the community.
Right.
This is for the love of New York City and the community and the neighborhood he resides in, has grown up in, for the people to have something to look forward to, for creating a community, for the love of the sport, for the love of each other, all of these things. And then to have something so beautiful and to be able to show love and be a part of that love and witness all of it and then have it be destroyed by gun violence. And I understand there's a lot of reasons behind it. Like you listed some of them and I get it. And it's no judgment. I'm not judging. And I'm just sad. I'm just sad. And I hate to see young athletes, being shot up at games and having to deal with injuries, and there are scholarships on the line for some of these kids that, they're supposed to be leaving to go away. They graduated. They were at a graduation party when they were shot. So, it's things like that are really disappointing. And there are a couple people who spoke out on Instagram, and Scott LaRock Jr., he posted something that said, I told y'all in April I wasn't doing any outdoor summer leagues this year, and this is the reason why. Another ball player shot at a game yesterday. Too much going on in these streets. If you guys are running tournaments, can't get a gym, this is the year to leave outside alone. These young boys have no respect for the community or events in them. Leave the street ball alone this summer. That's so sad.
So typically I'm the type of person who says I don't live through fear. I don't believe in living through fear. I believe in living through love. Right. But I'm also sadly, I have to say it. I'm also sadly a proponent of the idea that love is not enough or the only thing we need to proceed. And unfortunately, that is our reality. That may not be how the world works, period. Right. The world may be a situation where it's like, love makes the world go round. But we've created worlds. Like I said earlier in the show, we've created worlds that we live through. You think about technology. We live through technology so much so that some of us can't do anything without the technology unless we're within the confines of technology. Does that make sense to you? Like in terms of like communication, right? So now you think about that, and love can't be enough in there because these things were not created of love. And a lot of these communities and businesses that are developing, they were not created through love. They were created through fear. And fear will easily show or rear its ugly head sooner or later, and it will come to pass that love is not enough.
I'm going to challenge everything you just said, and I believe fear is the price we pay for love.
Say that again. Fear is the price we pay for love?
Mm-hmm. There is so much fear in love. So much.
But isn't love about letting go, and love is about providing a space for someone else to let go if you love that person?
How much fear is within letting go?
Yeah, but however,
So
hold on though. But I think, so that talks about, so you're speaking about the process of loving someone and the process of getting to that space where you let go.
There's so much fear that leads up to love.
Okay.
It's the price that we pay to achieve love. And so again, violence is also part of that. That falls into the fear and the power and the violence and the struggle.
But we're not operating in a vacuum, right? So we still have to keep in mind that we are at the mercy of other people's preferences and other people's impulses at the end of the day. Unfortunately, no matter how much we love, no matter how much we love ourselves, we still have to deal with other people's absence of love and other people's love of fear, or other people's propensity to act through fear. We still have to deal with these things. So in dealing with these things, love is not enough is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Right? So
love is still the greatest force, though.
I don't doubt it.
It's still the greatest power. So you can't do any of it without the love, though. So I will agree that love is not enough always, but without love, you accomplish nothing.
Right. So I would like to put my love into actual ways to encouraging people to love themselves enough to live outside of the worlds that force them to live through fear. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
So what I do a lot of times when I'm teaching or when I'm working with people is I push them to step past fear and to love themselves, no matter what they feel about themselves, no matter how anybody would judge them, to love themselves. And then once people start to get there, they're a lot clearer on what they want and they don't need anyone else influencing them. And they're also a lot less susceptible to the anger that comes from people exposing their insecurities. Because that's another thing that happens. Sometimes people approach us and they say things that trigger us and we're not in control of that, right? But you can be in control if you love yourself a little more. You're not so easily triggered because things don't fall on you the same way or hit you the same way when you like, you know what, I am messed up a little bit inside, but I still love myself. I'm still looking out for myself. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I totally get that. I think it's a little bit, self-love is priority, definitely, is a key. And I think there are other factors that play into that then to not be persuaded so easily or triggered or this or that, whatever, you're speaking to. In terms of love, I want to shout out a former guest on the show, Seawill, who was here after one of the shootings happened. He posted this, and which I'll read to you now, but this speaks to me directly. Like this I really felt, and I'm super thankful he did this. But he said, "Dear youth, you are loved, you are valued, you are our future. We want to see you grow old. We want to see you be successful. We need you to be agents of change. Many of our ancestors sacrificed their lives for not only equality, but opportunity. Don't let their work die in vain." And so, listen, I know an Instagram post is not going to change the world, but I do believe that we have to be real, but we also have to stay focused on the goal, and we can't lose sight of the love, right? Within all of the fear and the violence.
I agree.
And that's huge to me. And I'm always going to preach love. Love is always I truly believe it's the way. Mm-hmm. And I understand it's a lot more difficult than just saying lead with love and just show up and lead with love. Like I get that. I mean, listen, on a daily basis, that's hard for me. And I preach it and I try to practice it. So I understand how challenging it is, especially if you feel you have nothing to lose. Mm-hmm. Right? Especially after post-pandemic life and you lost loved ones and you're stressed out or depressed or suffering from anxiety or have no money or have no job, have no food, have no place to live. All of these things, I understand, they build up.
And they make you feel not only isolated in your suffering, because that's the one thing that happens with suffering is the loneliness that comes from it, right? Because no one understands, no one is feeling what I'm feeling, no one else has to go through this, and then in that isolation you feel such a detachment. Because the one thing that always fascinated me in a negative way was how I could be going through something and the world could just keep going. Like what I was going through didn't even matter. Right. And I think we need to understand that there are so many individuals who feel that way. And then there are so many children who feel that way. And now our children have so much access to the adult worlds out there and think tools and I guess parts of the adult world, right? So when you think about gun violence, well, first of all, when I think about gun violence in New York City, the first quote that always comes to my mind, and this is going to sound, well, it's not going to sound strange to you, but it is the first quote that always comes to my mind, is a child that does not feel the warmth of the village will burn the village down, right?
100%.
Right? And I truly believe that. And it will be the village's fault because you create whatever manifests itself within your village.
100%.
Either by negligence or by overindulgence, whatever, you created that. You create that space. So when you love a child, you love on a child, you send a child love, you are making that child feel warmth that child does not have to then create through negative means.
Connection is key.
It's huge.
And when a child feels, and we're talking about children here who are participating in the gun violence.
Yes.
I mean, they're babies,
yes.
Right? So when you can reach a child, an adult even, and make them feel seen and heard and valued. And so part of it is what you're saying, the self-love component, right? And realizing that your worth, your value and your worth truly comes from within. And when you don't need to seek that from any outward sources,
there it is.
That's where your true power lies.
There it is.
So that's number one. But it's also in developing that and understanding your inner peace and inner power. It's about connection and feeling seen and loved.
Right.
And not everybody gets that opportunity. And which is why I preach it and live it to the as much as I possibly can and continue to spread the word about it because it just takes one, right? And like when you can make a difference in one child's life, they impact the next and next and the next and even adults. Then they can help change adults' lives. So it's really, truly like the pay it forward philosophy and all of those, all of those things you tap into.
I think it's important that you say the whole pay it forward thing because people think whenever we say things like this, people think there's only one way to do it. There's only one way to provide that child with warmth. You don't have to be a teacher. You don't even have to be a coach. You don't even have to show up to this kid's game. You can go to an assemblyman's meeting. You can go to your local council meeting, and you can do your bidding for the kid there. You can talk about making parks safer, getting lights in the park. You can vote for mayor. You can vote for governor. You can do all of these things that actually add to this rush and this force that is geared towards making sure each child feels loved and has access and opportunity.
Right. Well, and the other thing that, just to throw this out there because I actually experienced it yesterday and it just completely changed my whole day, but just random acts of kindness and just looking out for another human being.
Yeah.
And it happened actually the last 2 days in a row. The universe just presented opportunities to me and I was open enough to receive them and I just jumped on it and I was able to step in and help someone. And although I helped them, I received so much more than they did. And so, and that shifted my whole mood and it was like an endorphin rush and it was amazing. And it changed everything for me. But the greatest part about it to me personally was my son was there and was able to witness it.
Oh, that's good.
On one occasion, my oldest son witnessed the first one. And then the second day, both of my sons witnessed the second one.
That's really good.
And so for me, like I had to go then take a moment because I was like overwhelmed with feelings of all of it that took place. And they were little simple acts, like nothing major, like nothing. So, but just for them to be able to witness that because they hear me preach it all the time, lead with love, lead with love, lead with love. So when I looked at him and Dylan said to me, "Why did you do that?" And I said, "Why do you think?" And he said, "You were leading with love." And that right there, like tears. Tears. So I'm just saying, not that I'm special or that I'm doing anything amazing. I'm saying it's one random act of kindness that can change someone's complete outlook for their day. Someone who could have, like you've heard the stories, like a Starbucks person like wrote on a cup like you're amazing or you're beautiful or have the most special day because you're special, like that person was going to commit suicide that day and decided not to because of that random act of kindness. So I'm just saying, when you see an opportunity to be kind, please choose to be kind, because you just don't know what people are going through in their daily lives behind closed doors. And if we can just lead with love a little bit more, and I know that's not going to solve all the world's problems, but at least makes it a little more tolerable, right?
Right. And I actually said this to one of my 8U players. Shout out to Riverside's 2031 team who's going to nationals in a couple of we're going to nationals in a couple of days.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you, and good luck to the boys. I hope they just have fun, because that's what
it's about.
It's been a really cool journey watching these little boys develop into like little young men and take responsibility for one another and run to pick each other up, make sure they high five everybody when they come out of the game. Like these are our rules, and watching them hold each other accountable is cool. So like I was watching one of the captains hold another player accountable, and I said, hey, you don't always have to yell. Right? You have to think about where he's coming from. And this is a big concept for an 8-year-old to get, but he's getting it. And I said, you can move mountains without breaking rock. And everybody was like, what? And then I had to explain that. And Coach Heck was like, put that in a book, bro. Put that in a book. Right? So but it's true. You can really move mountains without breaking rock. Right? And I think people need to understand that just because we have been ruled, and some of us, just because we have been oppressed by force, does not mean that's the only power we have. Love is a power too.
Right. But sometimes it's the quietest of moments or acts or just a few simple words that are the most powerful.
That's right.
So you don't, and I truly just don't believe you fight violence with violence, and I just don't think that's how we win. I know, we're not going to get into this. But, so speaking of, I looked up a couple quotes. I love quotes. Like I could do quotes every day. I just love them so much. So speaking about violence, MLK Jr. said, at the center of nonviolence stands the principle of love. And, I love that. And then Carl Jung said, where love stops, power begins, and violence and terror.
Shout out to Carl Jung, by the way, and Dr. MLK Jr.
And then the last one is Gandhi. Listen,
shout out to Gandhi,
because I can't just pick one. So it is no nonviolence if we merely love those who love us. It is nonviolence only when we love those who hate us.
Yeah.
And I know that's incredibly challenging and difficult. But I'm going to show a little bit of love right now, and I'm going to remind you to tell all of us about something that you forgot to tell everybody about the last few shows. I think you might have a book or something.
Oh.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, actually, for bringing that up. I have forgotten to tell all of our wonderful supporters, and I don't want to.
You can tell other podcasts, and you can show up and preach about it everywhere else. But here, you just want to keep it to yourself, I guess. I'm not worthy, I guess.
Here at Beyond the Journal, we don't mind cutting people off in the middle of their spiels. Welcome. So, no, seriously, it feels funny even saying I've neglected the supporters, because you guys are more like family with all the interactions we have with Beyond the Journal. And I apologize for not announcing that I have finally published my own book. After all this time, thank you. After all this time, I've had the courage to actually put my poetry out into the public atmosphere and allow people to share in my art. And I invite you to do the same. It is hashtag LA Boys Presents Haikus and Things. Or is it LA Boys Presents hashtag Haikus and Things? Either way, LA Boys are presenting those haikus and things. And it's introducing the Sanrio.
I think we got it.
And it's by yours truly, Lawrence Racor. Go get it. I call it a poetry book with a twist. And there's more to come.
Okay, good. I was going to say, that's good. That's enough airtime for that.
And I'm just a writer of things, just in case you needed to know that, people.
A writer of things.
Well, I didn't like the fact that you cut me off, so I wanted to add that in. I was a writer of things.
You just couldn't stand that I cut you off. I'm a cutter-offer.
That's a thing. I wish America could see me making this face.
They could. Just look right there.
Oh, there's a camera.
Yeah. I am sometimes, and especially with you, because I think you would just talk the whole time, and I would say nothing. So I just feel like I need to make my presence known.
Thank
and
you.
I have to-
And speaking of cutting off, this has been another wonderful episode of Beyond the Journal. Please keep up with us.
always a treat.
Always a treat.
Always a treat.
Take care, people. I'm going to get the last
And
word.
lead with love. No, lead. Please lead with love.
Got it.
And be safe this summer. Please, New York City, please, please, please
No,
be
seriously.
safe this summer.
Yes. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Are we done?
No, we're done.
Stop. I think we're off
No,
the air.
no, I think we're good.
Are we off the air?
Are we done? I think we're done. We might be done. I think we're done when I say we're done.
Okay.
Are we done?
I'm going to let you have the last word. You are so childish. You don't want the last word if I give it to you, though. Oh, my God. And he was like, do I
You
push
don't
the
get
button?
to be. You don't get to be the boss. You don't get to be the boss.
I'm still going. Are we done?
Oh, my God. Cut this off. Cut this off. That was
That's
great.
amazing. That's
That
the
was
best
great.
ending we've ever had.
That was so funny.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Matt.
Thank
You're
you.
awesome.
That was funny. Oh, man. That was a good show. Another good one.
Well, especially for considering.
I always have faith in us, though. As soon as you said